Ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Meat People, the podcast of the Southwest Meat Association. I can't wait to have these conversations, and we're going to do everything we can to make it entertaining and valuable and a great representation of meeting the people. So if you're listening to the Meat People podcast, well, you're in for a real treat today. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, just off Camp Bowie, at a place called the Meat Board. I've got Greg, Dr. Nick, Mr. Don Ray. Now, is it Dr. Ray? Is it
just Don?
Just Don. All right, good deal. Sometimes I sit around here thinking, am I calling these people by the right titles and names and this kind of thing? But I kind of already said it, but I have to say it again while we're recording. I feel privileged to be allowed to kind of have this kind of access to a couple of guys that have just built careers in the meat industry within companies that deal with animal protein, building your own company, these kind of things that I look up to, and I know a lot of other people are going to be like, wow, that was fun. It was fun just kind of hearing what these guys think about stuff. Greg's the meat cutter here at the Meat Board. So, Greg, you're kind of the one I know the least about. So, congratulations, you get to start. Tell me a little bit about what you do here at the Meat Board, and then just where you came from quickly.
Well, I guess my official title is the general manager of the store.
Well, good. See, I was already stepping all over somebody's toes. That's going to happen occasionally.
They allow me in the cut room. Yeah. Which we don't allow these two in the cut room too much, but so I basically try to keep the store running the way these guys want it to be run.
Well, how is it going? Pretty good right now?
Yes, sir. We've developed a couple of new programs, new arms of the Meat Board that I'm pretty excited about. We have something called the Meet the Rancher program, where we go out to local ranches and we buy whole carcass from them. We bring it into our shop, and we have their brand in our case.
Like on the packaging or on the product, whatever.
Yes, on our fresh case. It'll be their ranch brand, so we can tell their story to people that otherwise would never have heard of that ranch before.
It's crazy. You chose to kind of tell that piece of the story because we were talking about how rare it is for people to really know where their meat comes from, where their food comes from. So that program sounds super exciting to me. And as a rancher, there's a little piece of pride in seeing your brand and knowing that meat, I raised it. You know, I got the cow bred. We had the calf. We raised him, fed him, all those things. So high five. That's cool.
And Greg needs to tell you a little bit about his cowboy heritage.
All right, good. So don't stop. Keep going there, young fella.
He's very shy about that.
Yeah.
But he knows cowboys and he knows horses, and his father was pretty famous.
Yeah, I've been around agriculture my whole life, specifically the horse industry. That's what my family did. They were in the reining industry pretty much my whole life. So, you know, I've been around it for forever. And yeah, my father was inducted into the Reining Horse Hall of Fame a few years back. So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. I don't know much about it, although my favorite animal is the horse. I love horses. You know, if I can get some time to go ride, it's just like, wow, man, life is pretty good. Yeah. Even with the stresses of family, work, you know, just living in America these days, there's kind of lots of stuff there. Well, I don't know your dad, so what's his name?
Jerry Kimmel.
Jerry Kimmel.
Yep. Kimmel Reining Horses.
Okay. Did you have like a super famous horse or multiples?
We had a couple of pretty good studs.
Okay, so what name one?
Done It Got a Gun.
Done it, got a gun.
Who actually
I've
has
heard
a-
lots of done it's.
He's got a Briar horse made after him,
All right.
which is, if you know anything about Briar
Yes,
horses,
I
that's
do
kind
know.
of an honor.
I used to break those things pretty often playing with them. I got in trouble all the time by my parents. Like, hey, we bought those and you're breaking them. Anyways, awesome. See, right there. We did not come to the Meat People podcast to talk about reining horses, but it's a great piece of the story, and it helps people understand who Greg is a little bit.
Sure.
All right, so on to Don Ray.
Yes. Well, to Greg's story, that's why when I visited with him to maybe come join us here, no, he didn't work in a packing house like I did, and Nick has inspected 1,000 packing houses. But he came from the ag side of it, and his knowledge of everybody in Fort Worth at all the cutting horse shows, all the ranch shows they have in town here at Will Rogers and Dickey's, but he knows a ton of those people, which helps bring that atmosphere into our meat shop. So he has learned the meat business. We do let him in there a little bit, and he's doing a good job now. It wasn't so pretty when we started, but it looks pretty good now. So, but he's learned a lot. But he knows how to set the shop up and get it going. Plus, he knows the huge amount of people that walk in here, especially during cutting horse shows, reining shows, any horse events at Will Ride, whatever, as I mentioned. And he gets them involved in here because we're sitting in a boardroom that we designed to where we could have meetings or private parties and that type of thing. But so we'll have Jason Skaggs, is director of the Cattle Raisers Association, and his group come over and have a lunch meeting, and it attracts many other people. And several of the cutting horse people come in here to have meetings when they're in for a big show in Fort Worth. So it just, that atmosphere, you could not attract it any other way other than what Greg brings to the table and us sitting here in Fort Worth where all that's going on. So It's been a big positive. And they look at the mural and go, well, you guys, you run Black Angus cattle, and we do. We've actually processed some of those through here. It's all going to have to grade prime and upper 2/3 choice. And as Greg said, we're working with some ranchers, and they're improving their herds. And that's the grade of product we take here and age it. And we showcase them where we have a weekend where they can come in with their family and walk in with spurs and boots on and their 2 kids and truck and a trailer parked out front, and they walk in here to meet customers on a Saturday. And it's, as Greg said, it's Meet the Rancher program, and people love that because they're got their hat on. They look like they came from a ranch, and it fits in with what we're doing here. So
Awesome. Dr. Nick, just to get everybody involved in the conversation, he said you've inspected, what was it? Hundreds of thousands of plants, lots of plants.
Most of them are ones we ran in our career.
Yeah, right.
So we're responsible for them.
What even got you into that? Did you start as a kid did your mom, dad, somebody own a meat plant? Like, how'd you get into that piece of the business?
Well, my family had cattle operations in Robertson County, Texas. I started out at Texas A&M to become a veterinarian. Unfortunately, my grades sucked really bad. So I majored in animal science, got a master's degree and a PhD at A&M, and then became a faculty member in 1972 after a little stint in the Army as a seafood specialist.
Yeah.
I was never on the meats judging team. I was on the shrimp judging team.
Okay, real quick. I mean, that does garner a bit of a chuckle, but I love eating shrimp. What a little stint in the military. I mean, we're kind of setting the mics up, and you said you could invoke your military vocals if you had to. Tell me about that a little bit, because that's a thing about you I don't know. I had never really been made aware that you were in the, what was it, Army, Air Force, Navy?
Army. I was in the Corps at A&M and commissioned as a second lieutenant
in 1970
Yeah.
by General Westmoreland, who was commander of all the troops in Vietnam at the time. Fortunately for me, it was on the downhill side.
Yeah.
So I didn't go over, but I did serve a tour in the lab at Fort Sam Houston, Texas, where we were trying to identify bacteria from operational infections.
Oh, wow. See, I mean, it's like we're talking about how dynamic the food industry is and how this steak gets to be in front of me or how it gets to be at that grocery store or any one of those things. The military's is just the same way. Like, I hear military and I think helicopters and jets and guns on the ground, but there's so much support behind the scenes. Somebody researching what Dr. Nick was, somebody logistically planning the travel of all the equipment. And just maybe for a quick pause to just thank all those men and women in our armed forces that do, and their families, because that is a sacrifice that's made family-wide so that I get to live in this great country and just feel safe as a little bug in a rug, you know? I just feel like, man, I'm in good shape. So thanks, everybody who either has served, Dr. Nick,
Absolutely.
or has been a family member of those who do, because sometimes they don't come back. You know, it's a tough deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so back to inspection. Sorry for the little tangent there, but I was interested.
Well, I never really did inspections. I did observations
Yeah, right.
of when I came up to Fort Worth in 1999 to work for Don. We had 5 plants. All of those plants were going to have to be under the new HACCP plan within a year.
Yeah.
So he put me in charge of that. I realized after day 2 that there were a lot of managers and QA people in those 5 plants that had their own opinions. And what I tried to do was build the fences or set the guardrails and say, you guys can have your own program, but it's got to meet these standards so that we will be in compliance with HACCP.
Yeah.
To that point, he skipped over one thing that's incredibly important, is he did get his master's and PhD in microbiology, which could be a vet today if he wanted to be. So in 1999, when I was involved in running those plants, and when the HACCP government put the HACCP plan in effect, I knew that I had to find somebody that preferably had a PhD in food science. And lo and behold, Nick, I'd known him and kept up with him, and I said, you got to join me. I got a job for you, and he elected to do that. So he came on board. We partnered up, and he, first year or 6 months of the year, did a lot of traveling because we had 5 plants, and then we were added on another couple of more. We wound up with about 11 or 8 or 9 plants for us all over with, from making pepperoni to making pizza topping for Pizza Hut, taco meat for Taco Bell, cut steaks for Outback Steakhouses. So they were a variety of stuff, and then soups and sauces for the Jason's Deli chain and stuff. So we were scattered pretty well. Nick came in and visited all those plants, and over a period of time put the crew together, as he said, set some parameters, and got us aligned to where it all kind of came up through our office to him to handle anything from a HACCP standpoint. It was primarily because we could go into a big customer like, say, Pizza Hut, and if there was a recall, unfortunately, then we had all the mechanisms in place, and they were comfortable with that because I would introduce him as Dr. Nick Nickelson, and then I would scoot my chair out of the room and let him go to work. Instead of, I'm a salesman, I can sell you all you want, but he's going to make sure it's in good shape.
Yes.
So we formed a pretty good little partnership, and he put a great team together, and we just kept growing until other big boys decided they wanted to buy us out. And so literally, that's when we are here today. Because
Well, I'm interested in all that. I know kind of pieces of that story. I don't know all of it. I feel like, how did y'all meet? Like, how did that even happen? Do you remember, or has it just been kind of, well, we've known each other forever?
Well, I remember, I think, but it could be a different memory than what
Yeah,
he
that's
has.
true.
now be
I knew
careful
his-
there, dog. Be careful. Be careful.
I knew his older brother
Yeah.
at A&M. He was in graduate school a couple of years before me. And I knew Don just kind of on the side because he was the orphan brother that was trying to get through A&M.
I did eventually get through, by the way.
Okay.
He did, yeah, through Bossy.
Yeah.
The skeleton in the meats lab, Don built as a special project
Oh, wow.
so he could graduate Sigma Cum Laude.
Under Dr. Gary Smith. He's the one that said, this is the only way you can get out of here. Let me give you this problems course. If you'll show up and build it, I'll give you an A, and that's enough for you to get something inside of that tube to walk across this stage with. So, jokingly, of course. But that's,
Sure.
but Bossy was quite a project. I enjoyed that.
So I was back from Silica Labs out of Chicago and had my own consulting business in Austin. And it was called Red Mesa Microbiology.
Okay.
And it was because I lived on Red Mesa Hollow. Well, he asked me to find him somebody to run the HACCP program for KPR food. And after a couple of 3 weeks, I said, how about me?
Yeah.
He said, you kidding? I said, no, I'd love to do it. So that's how that whole thing started.
Well, to your opening statement, everybody knew Dr. Nick out in the industry. Even in these big companies had R&D people. He had touched them at whether it be, again, Pizza Hut or Taco Boy, you name it. He knew. But so it was a natural for him to come in and join because he already knew a lot of people in this business. And with his PhD just put us at a different level because he knew how to work it and he knew what he was doing. It set us up with some really good programs.
I did finally get accepted to vet school, but I turned it down
Yeah.
because I was having too much fun and doing research
Yeah.
in food microbiology.
Isn't it fun? To me, it is how our careers just become what they're gonna be. You know, you never made a vet, but you ended up loving everything you did. You know, maybe not everything, but you ended up loving
Right.
the industry, the work, all that kind of stuff. It's like I was gonna be a cowboy. I was gonna be a world champion calf roper, you know. I mean, that's what I had planned. It turned out I ended up first day at work. It's funny we're kind of on the HACCP conversation because I started in like 2001, so pretty new into the HACCP world. And Cody said, "Do you know what HACCP is?" Like when he called me and said, "Hey, you want to come work at this baking company?" I'm like, "Sure." "Do you know what HACCP is?" I said, "No, not at all."
Not a clue.
What? Like, is that a real word? What is that? And so he said, "Well, you need to know when first day you show up over here, you need to know what that means." So I got, on the internet and figured out what the acronym stood for. I still had no clue what HACCP was, but I could recite the acronym. But it was kind of a great place for me to start my career just because I saw, like, if you're going to sell protein, meat, food, it turns out to be super valuable, just like Don was saying. I just said, "Hi, we're here. Meet Dr. Nick. See you later." Because they really care about, is this going to be safe? Is my brand going to be protected working with this product and that kind of thing? So awesome. Cool story. Thanks for sharing that. So how did you get into that business? Did you start it from zero? Was it?
I was born in Weatherford, West here. We had a place. My dad he got a degree from A&M in agronomy and later in civil engineering, but we had a farm. His twin brother, my uncle, was a vet from A&M. He actually taught vet anatomy down at A&M for several years. Later was put on a program which is going on now in Mexico with the screwworm issue back in the late 60s, middle 60s, somewhere in that. Spent 4 years down there figuring out eradication with a group of vets, and they made that work, and it's similar to what they're talking about now with these sterile flies. But anyway, I just was raised up around cattle and all that. We showed horses, Palomino horses, but mainly cattle. And when I finished A&M, my first job, the only job that was available, was at a little packing house in South Texas called Uvalde Provision Company, and I went down there to eventually learn to maybe run part of the processing business. It was small, but we started out on the kill floor and then drove trucks and worked my way all the way up. Then Mr. Kothman, the owner, about 4 years later, passed away. And I had talked to Safeway at A&M back then out of the blue. They called me. Make a long story short, I took a job with them and went to California to work in their office in right out of San Francisco, and was traveling around to the various warehouses, really working on equipment and stuff like that they were ordering. They moved me then back to Dallas to run a meat warehouse, and that's to supply about 300 stores. That's where I got started back into the manufacturing side, and I kind of liked that. So I left that, and then Jack Peoples, a member of SMA, for one of the founders, I think, but way back in the 50s, with Bob Undersack and a group of guys, outlaws that started SMA, hired me to run the plant in Dallas, and I ran it for about 7 or 8 years. We sold it, and then I joined the Rosenthal family in a manufacturing plant that was making pepperoni, and then the rest is history. We just kind of went from there to making pizza topping and on and on and on, and built a pretty good company, sold it, and then I jumped in to run it from that point on. It was Billy and them retired, and then eventually IBP bought us, and then Tyson buys IBP, and so I was working for $1 trillion companies, and we started out at a little packing house in South Texas. So it's like, wow, this is like going to the big city, but it all worked. But my point is, I learned a lot about processing.
Oh, I love that story. It's a beautiful example to anybody listening, any young person that is coming out of college or coming off of whatever place in their life they are, and they start working. Mm-hmm. Don, who has been running and major player in $1 trillion companies, was just telling us about when he was fixing equipment. You know, I mean, it's just a beautiful truth that just get in there, get your hands dirty,
right,
be willing to participate in whatever's needed, and people will you will just move yourself right along.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm. I think you're pretty, just from some of the stories I've heard, and most of them may not be 100% true, but your imagination around business or around what's possible is impressive. It's part of, I think, one of the cool things about your career.
Yeah.
So I've heard this story. You can now tell me how much is true or not. We'll play this. How much is true game? I've heard it said that you thought you could sell Taco Bell the ground meat and all that. Mm-hmm. So you went and sold it to them, and they said yes, and then you went and built the plant. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yeah.
See, well, that's imagination right there.
He can sell ice cubes to an Eskimo.
Let me back. We were in a small plant, and we started making a little bit of product, but things got real exciting, and so we started making, and thanks to the Rosenthal family, they just kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how we wound up with one side of the plant was making taco meat for Taco Bell. The other side was making soups and sauces for all the major players out there, and the other plant was making pepperoni for Pizza Hut, and we were their largest supplier after about a 6-year period, which was quite a bit of growth during the 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, man, that's a lot of growth.
Yeah. It was fun, though. I was on the road a lot. But back to Nick, one of the best things I ever did was bring him on board or partner up with him, because it solidified what we were all about, because we had the incredible looking plants. Everything was first class. That's just the way Billy Rosenthal built them.
Yeah.
And so we had a show place, but we also had a product that was a show product that we could back up with Nick and the team, making those people that are giants in the industry comfortable if there is any type of an issue, or if they want certain products from an R&D standpoint to make them better than the other competitors. We had an unbelievable R&D part of our plant that would be constantly looking at different ways of seasoning things that goes on a pizza or in a taco, whatever. So we tried to be the first one in the door, and I was always coming in the back door where the dumpster was, because I knew that's where the kitchen was.
Yeah, that's
to
right.
go sell them some stuff. So.
I mean, some people could be watching on YouTube, or, well, actually, this didn't happen when we were recording. But y'all's relationship is really fun to me too. I mean, because Don's just getting relaxed. He's putting his arms up. And Nick's like, dude, you can't do that. Put your arms down. It's like how you just communicate in real, like, honest, straightforward way. And I didn't see one tinge of offense in your eyes, and he wasn't meaning it mean. It was just, this is how a couple of guys who've worked together for this many years.
We've been together a long time.
Yes,
Talk to each other and communicate. It's so cool.
You learn a little about it, because we'd be sitting in a room somewhere in Kansas, somewhere out in California with our customers, and Nick would always position himself somewhere where I could keep an eye on him, and he could definitely keep an eye on me. And I'd be doing the talking, and then eventually he would do like one of these, and I would then defer to Nick, and he would take over, and I would learn to. So we had a good chemistry.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I think Cody and I are a little bit that
There
way.
you
Like,
go.
a lot of times, I promise he's sitting there wondering if I would just shut up, it'd be a lot better,
Yeah.
But like, I appreciate Cody in a lot of the same way I think you appreciate Nick in
Sure.
that I don't really know the details. I mean, I just don't. But they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they make you look so good as a salesperson, because when somebody starts asking those questions, they just like, bam. And then in about 2 sentences, they're like, okay, they got it.
Yeah. No, you're dead on. That's the way it works, because they tend to take their attention more to Nick and listen to than I just sit there and, puff on a cigar if I had one or whatever. I knew my day was over, so everything would be fine. No, it's a great, great team. We worked well together.
Do you ever, some of this is just, I'm trying to dig up a story or two, like something that you guys, like, if you're just sitting around talking, what's one of those stories where you're like, you remember that time we were in XYZ place, or we almost lost that business over this, or we got that business because you remember we took them out hog hunting or whatever. You got any stories like that?
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of everything you just mentioned, from hog hunting to sitting at Del Frisco's, drinking more than we ate. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's right.
The one that comes to my mind, and there's a bunch, but
Sure.
the one that's kind of the iceberg sticking out of the ocean is Waterloo, Iowa. So we had a plant up there making Taco Bell toppings and taco meat, and it was next door to IBP's largest kill plant in Iowa.
Yeah, it was like connected. It was 6 inches from 8,000 hogs being killed to making Italian topping for a pizza.
And the parking lot was not paved.
Yeah.
And we had the same establishment number. So we get a Listeria positive on some product on our side of the plant. Send a couple of guys up, go fix this. They're like back in 2 days. Did you get it fixed?
Right.
Oh, we left them a list. But no, you don't leave them a list.
Right.
Get your butts back up there and fix all of that before you come home. So it didn't get fixed. So I had to go up there.
Yeah.
I had to take some of my best people up there. And it took us like 6 months. We were under notice of attended enforcement action. We had to hire a statistician to say how many negative samples proved you were out of the woods.
Right.
And it was like 210. Then at 199, we hit another one.
Oh, Lordy.
Had to start over. But he's the one taking all the
Yeah, that's right. You're taking all the
he's
real
taking all the
heat.
heat from IBP headquarters about their plant with the same establishment number. I had to ride in a van with that plant manager to Des Moines several times, and he was not a happy camper.
Well, they were about to pull the inspection on it,
Right.
because of us, and then they're killing, I don't remember, 10 or 12,000 hogs a day next door.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
I mean, that is a tight
Scary.
spot.
yeah, but
So the solution was, number one, we're gonna start fixing the problem with listeria, but number two, let's get our own establishment number and divorce these guys next door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we did.
I don't know if anybody, probably don't, but remembers Bob Peterson. He was the president of IBP at the time, and he was, quote, my boss. And I remember him calling me, and he called me Donnie, because I loved the guy, but he had no neck. His head just sat on his shoulders with a suit. But you listened to him when he talked. But he called me on the phone. He says, well, Donnie, I understand we got a problem up at Waterloo. And he said, what are you doing to fix it? And I said, well, I've got with Nick, he's got a team. We're leaving to get up there. And he said, do I need to send the jet down to help them get up there? And I said, no, sir, I think they're on one right now. They're on American Airlines, not your private jet, but we're headed that way. But he said, well, you know, you hadn't been with me long, you know, about a year and a half. We hadn't had a lot of conversation, but I just need to tell you, you need to get it fixed. I can't shut that pig plant down. I said, I think I understand what you're saying. Don't send your hitmen until give me a couple of weeks and let's see what. So I hang up thinking, do I call Nick and say, when y'all land, put your tennis shoes on and get that done? Or do I just head to Mexico and resign and not be found again because Peterson will find me? But it all worked out.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Again, with his communication with USDA, and he spent some time there, Nick, that we got on the ball and got it fixed within a reasonable, at least the time. Months was not reasonable, but that's what it worked. So it was scary.
I mean, it's so dynamic. I mean, from your boss, who probably understands we shouldn't have had the problem. Maybe it's a bad problem, but there's not a real scenario in which you just snap your fingers and it's all good. We're all going to have a little patience with this. You know, maybe apply pressure in any way you can, which is why you got the phone call, but you also just can't snap your finger and
So that's one
Go
story
back.
I remember.
Well, that and I mentioned Bob Peterson because he's an amazing guy. I learned a lot from him because, you know, you got to remember back, they were about a $15 billion company when they bought us, IBP. And they were the largest beef and pork supplier or slaughterer in the world at the time. And so they were big, and Bob knew that, but he ran it with an iron hand, but he also had some understanding. He said, you know, you got grace time, you need to get it fixed. And if you said, and he said, can you get it fixed? And I said, I think we can. I know we can. I got the right people. Then he allowed you to do that. But if you didn't get it fixed, then you'd have probably gotten help you didn't want. And I didn't want that.
yeah.
So and later on, we got it done. We got going. We started attracting more business. And I remember going up there to meetings, and he would say, you guys, your plane hit and took off again, and you did the right thing, and I appreciate that, your team. And
we got the parking lot paved.
Yeah, I just knew you was going to mention that.
Oh,
so.
yeah. That's a good story. That brings back some indigestion.
I know.
Because I remember going up there and thinking, oh, my God, because it was a trying time.
If you went up the right time of the year, you could bring some really good corn home to cook on the grill in the summertime.
Right. Yeah. We flew quite a bit of corn back in a private plane down the aisle. It's Nick and I in the front.
Now, with your experience, I'm curious, and I guess in fairness to the Meat People podcast, some of this is just my curiosity. Like, I'm taking this opportunity to ask questions I'm interested in. There are lots of leadership styles. You each have a leadership style. I don't particularly love this iron fist kind of leadership. Do you think I'm just short-sighted? Is it like, I don't want people to operate out of fear. I would rather people operate out of excitement, loyalty, appreciation of the opportunity, that kind of thing. What's your take on my question there, just around? So obviously IBP had success under, what was his name?
Bob Peterson.
Bob Peterson.
Yeah.
And he sounds like a pretty strict
He was
kind of
very
guy.
strict. Yeah.
And you seem to like him and learned a lot from him. Am I just young and ignorant, kind of not wanting to comply with some of that? Is it a generational thing? What do you think is up with? I think anybody listening can garner some value from hearing your thoughts around that.
I never was afraid of Bob Peterson because he came down a lot. He would fly down because when he bought our company, there was about 6 or 7 other plants involved. And I got along real well. And I asked him one day and sit down with him, and I said, why did y'all buy KPR Foods? We're a pizza topping manufacturer. He said, well, Donnie, it's real simple. He said, I take a look at the amount of 50s we're producing a day through all these plants, and it's like 30-something% of our production is 50s or 40, whatever. And he said, we load trucks, put a box of invoices under a seat, tell the driver to go to L.A., go to New York, go to whatever, to ex-cold storage places, unload, and then we got brokers that'll move it out of these places. And that's getting old hat because as we expand, we produce more. A lot of times we have product that it's dang near approaching a birthday sitting out there somewhere in a freezer. And he said, but it's all going to grinders and the manufacturers. But he said, when I looked at y'all's business, didn't know anything about that because you're not killing anything or processing anything. But you guys, I think the number, and could be wrong, but I think he told me, he said, you guys, if we buy you guys, you're going to, and we're competitive with the pricing, going into your production plants, cooking this topping, which is a very safe, or trim, which is incredibly safe to do.
Yeah.
It's about 38% of our production. So if we take that away, then we can concentrate on what we do best, and that's running X number of cattle or pigs a minute down the line, and I don't have to worry about 100 million pounds. So I remember thinking later, I said, that is the most brilliant thing. I didn't even think of it that way, but he knew obviously what he was doing, and it worked. And as we grew our business with Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and selling 100 million pounds of toppings, then you can imagine how many 50s and 40s and 35 pork and whatever. And that was a brilliant move for IBP, of which Peterson and Dick Bond kind of sit down and thought that through, of we need to go find a cooker that we can use some product to rather than just being out on the marketplace. So,
yeah. How about you, Dr. Nick, or Greg too? I mean, leadership styles. How would you define your leadership style? What do you target?
I ended my military career as a colonel. So I got a chance to work with a lot of people over the years, a lot of leadership styles. And then when I was in charge of QA programs, food safety programs, I always thought the best way to bring these young guys up is to give them all the resources. They needed to encourage them to read, encourage them to get involved and stuff. And if you need me, call me. So I wanted to be more of a mentor than a commander.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bunch of those guys behind me that are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's quite the legacy when you think about it, when you approach it like that,
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about their leadership style.
There you go. That's good. It's a great little
Yes,
group to have.
Can I
here.
go to the restroom?
Yes, absolutely.
Greg,
No.
be careful now.
I'm
No, I'm joking. Go.
So their leadership style for me is, for a lack of a better word, it's passionate.
Yeah.
They are so incredibly passionate about this industry that it intrigues me. I want to know why they're so passionate about it. It's not an iron fist at all.
Yeah.
They're just so passionate about the meat industry.
We're going to take care of customers. We're going to take care of people that work for us. They all come first.
Yeah.
And a motto that I go back many, many years ago that I learned really maybe from the Rosenthal family, but was that we're going to have fun and make money. Whatever needs fixing, we're going to fix it. But those are the two parameters, and we're going to take care of our employee base.
Well, you've mentioned the Rosenthal family a couple times.
Yeah.
What were they like?
They were dynamic. You know, when I go back to when I was getting out of A&M and looking at where I could send a resume, I remember sending one to Manny Rosenthal at Standard Meat Company, because I remember being told back then there's about 3 places with an animal science degree, and you want to get out of in the meat business, it's Armour, Swift, and Standard Meat Company, basically. And this is in the late 60s.
Yeah.
So I didn't care for the big corporations like Armour and Swift. I didn't want to move to Chicago. I'm from Fort Worth, the area. And all these packing houses were starting to fade down at that time within here. So, and then I was really wanting to go to work at the Standard Meat Plant because I'd always heard good things about it from Manny. But he had no openings then. And then out of the blue, this job came up in Uvalde, where I went down there to run this little meat packing plant, which was great. I mean, we killed 35 head of fed cattle a day and probably 100 sheep and goats, and anything else we could kind of get brought up there, we would.
I mean, that's a great
process.
perspective, because sometimes you're at, like, I remember days at Peterson's, like if the phone rang, we were racing to it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like you're knocking people out of the way to get over there.
No, it was like when you're working at those, if somebody calls and say, you want a blue suit, well, you get a blue light. You figure some way to take care of that customer.
Yeah.
But everything was going south towards the border. Not a lot of it came back this way to San Antonio and Austin, whatever. So, but no, that's where I got a lot of my experience from in the trenches.
And Rosenthal's, to me, were very significant in several different ways. When I was with Tyson, I took a couple of steps backwards so I could stay in Fort Worth. It was not fun. And I got a call one day from Standard Meat. You want to interview you for a job? Yeah, let's do it. It was a Friday afternoon. Met at Papado's. No resumes. No application forms. Do you want to come to work for us?
Yeah.
So by the end of the day, I had submitted all my files from my computer and my cell phone back to Tyson, locked all the cabinets that had my documents in it, and resigned from Tyson and went to work for Standard Meat. And it was like being drafted by a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
That was the
Very
ultimate
good way to put it.
the ultimate goal right there. I'd finally made it.
Yeah, because that's, fast forward that, I started meeting, I got a call from Billy Rosenthal, and he said, you're working for a competitor, would you consider making a move? And I pretty much said, no, I'm happy. I've only been here for a year. 2 years. I'm still learning pepperoni business or whatever. Well, we talked off and on for about a year, and eventually we met at a Chili's restaurant like 2 years later in Dallas, and sitting across the table, and he finally said, before we leave and I pay this tab on these 2 burgers, you're going to come to work for us. And I said, let's just get it started now. I'll just come on board now. We can enjoy our hamburger. But that's how Billy did it. He stood up, shook my hand, hugged me, and I said, let's make it work. Because I remember he said, what'll happen if we work this deal and you have problems with selling this pepperoni? I said, you mean if I don't get the job done, then I think I can get it done coming on board with you? He said, yeah. And I said, well, let me ask you a question before I answer that. I said, what would happen if I go sell that product and we have any kind of issues from a plant level? And he just looked at me and said, that's all I needed to hear. And so we hugged, worked the deal, and it was a handshake.
Yeah.
And later it changed my life.
I mean, it kind of makes me emotional
Yeah,
hearing
true
stuff like
story,
that.
though.
I know
That's-
it's like, to me, it's what meet people is. Like, can you imagine how many stories similar to that
Yeah.
could be told from people in the meat industry?
Sure.
Because, that's the handshake, the integrity, the believing in yourself, the accountability, all that stuff just permeates the culture of the meat industry.
Right. And that's the way it was in that particular time in its structure. But
So Don and I got to mentor Scott Bowman. Scott Bowman got to mentor me for a while.
Yeah.
I am still in contact almost daily with Jonathan Sable,
Yeah.
and it's like they're two of my sons.
Right. Oh, you said you had to take a couple steps back at Tyson to stay in Fort Worth. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, they wanted you to do some job and you just didn't want to go there, or like what's the story
Yeah,
there?
pretty much. They were doing what they called they had these consultants in that were doing a deep dive on how to organize everything. So I was driving up to Springdale for meetings on a regular basis, and they're trying to reorganize all the quality assurance programs within Tyson. They had identified 7 vice presidents maybe, and I was number 8.
Yeah.
And I didn't even want to compete for one of them.
Right.
So I was driving up there one day, and Dairy Queen on the Red River, and get a call and said, no reason for you to come to this next meeting. Okay. And it was just downhill. I mean, if you were not born with feathers, nothing against them. They had great guys. They had great programs. They were very successful. I just didn't fit.
Sure.
And I didn't want to go to Springdale. I wanted to stay here with him.
Yeah. Hey, cool. Thanks for that color.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I probably shouldn't have revealed that, but
well.
Think
I
about it.
wonder why you would feel like you shouldn't reveal it, because what I think is important, what I like, part of the conversation is it's not always up. It's just not
No.
this constant fly to the moon of greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a fall off the cliff, get back up and go. To me, that's why I pressed on that a little bit, because from just a guy who knows you and sees you here, there, yonder, and Dr. Nick, he's one of the coolest. It makes you so much more relatable to me to know you had to go through the poop just like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of building a career and part of just getting where you're going to eventually be. What do y'all think about retirement or finish lines or these kind of things? It just occurs to me like,
oh, we crossed that a long time ago.
We were going to retire until he gives me a call one day and says, I'm on Camp Bowie. We need to come look at this location. Because we had talked about, it'd be cool to have a butcher shop at a high, I call it high end, and my wife says, don't say that, but it really is. We didn't want to be a Tom Thumb or a whatever. We wanted to be a upper prime and upper 2/3 choice, breed specific, genetic specific, yada, yada, yada. Because, and this was in 2018 when we were planning this, and we sat there and had about 3 or 4 of these lined up to do. One in Fort Worth in 2020, one in Salina, and one in North Dallas, and one in Houston. So right now we should be saying we have 5 and fixing to open another one in somewhere else.
XYZ
Well,
place.
COVID hit when we opened this one and just slowed everything down, as everyone knows. So and it changed the dynamics of the way people were thinking about, their high dollar protein piece.
Yeah.
So we have a great location. It's right here in Cowtown. It's this product that Greg's running the show here. It's all, we age it 3 to 4 weeks. It's all we can grade it ourselves when it comes in, but if it comes in prime, it better be prime. If it comes in upper 2/3 choice, it ought to be. If not, we select a different supplier because we're not that big. But we've been here now 5 years, I guess. I'm trying to think.
Closing in on it, yeah.
Yeah, I can look you in the face and say we have never had a complaint of a steak coming out of here. It's always been, oh my God, I know now why. Because we're competitive with the people we need to be with, like a Central Market, even though we age this product, but we have to be competitive because it's hard to explain the fact that Central or somebody else has got them for $20 a pound and we're at $24 a pound. It's worth. And my answer is that if you want a good experience and it's put through this program and the age right, then you got people coming in from out of town, or you going to your ranch and want to throw some ribeyes on the grill, come pick these up. If you're going to order them every other day, then there's other places to shop to get a bargain. But you're going to have a good eating experience. And that's the trend here, and people know that.
Yeah.
And they come in here, and I can always come in and get a good piece of meat. So we know we're on the right track. It's just struggling with the economy at times, but certainly with COVID hit for a while.
Sure, that changed. I remember early on in COVID, my wife said something like, boy, our kids will never forget this. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't remember stuff that happened to me when I was 5 years old. But I was wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to remember it. It's going to be a big piece of their life. It was a major thing, much bigger than I was kind of feeling like it was going to be.
And to Greg's point, he's helped in putting this on the map is this rancher program. People went from, we're buying it from National out of Kansas. It's all certified Angus, and we age it to, Snake River, yada, yada, to now we're getting cattle coming off a ranch that these ranchers are, the good ranchers are genetically putting cattle that's going to bring a premium, and the premium is the right size animal, but also the right grade. And I tell this story, but I remember in A&M when I was there in the 60s, the ideal feedlot breed was a Hereford Angus Charolais cross because it gave the different attributes of a good mother, a good udder, a bigger ribeye, a bigger size animal, and the quality of an Angus and all that. So that was perfect. But the percent of prime coming out of all these packing houses back then was less than 2%. Now it's probably 12 or 14% and improving because they've improved the genetics. And this is what we've done here is that if you want that type, then you can come here and get that. So anyway, that's just my quick story there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny how in your mind you're going to have 4 or 5, 6 of these and you got one. Mm-hmm. But that's still fine. It's good. It's the way the business shook out.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And SMA has been a huge part of our careers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge part.
Well,
I started as an associate member when I had a food testing lab. Don's been a processing member forever.
Since 1980.
He's been president. Yeah. I've been president. We're both been elected to the Hall of Fame, which we're very proud of.
Yes, amazing feat. Yeah, quite an honor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to see what else there should be said about that. It's not much. It's that association has played a big role in connecting you with the right kind of people.
Absolutely.
Fostering friendships, relationships. I love the SMA. I like seeing the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big golfer. I mean, I go golf, but it's kind of mostly just to talk to the people that are on my team, or to just hang out at the bar. And to me, that's something I really enjoy.
interesting too to that point. I don't want to, but I started in the '80, I guess, with Jack Peoples, and started going. I went to every convention for 25 years or whatever. But my point is that I met so many neat people, and some of the founders of some of these businesses, the Undersack family, you name it, and now their kids and cousins are running these plants, because the other guys I used to sit in a meeting at SMA are all old like me, and they all need a butcher shop so they can kind of wind down their career. But it's just quite a group of people that were amazing, because you could call up and get any information you wanted. You know, what kind of packing machine do you have? I like the way your package looked. And you'd look up and they'd mail you a whole packet of where to get it, how much it costs or whatever. Not anything that they weren't helpful about. That just was the feel you had with SMA members, because it was just we had a big party once a year and then we went to work.
Yeah. So y'all mentioned not to just keep talking, but I'm like, dang, this is too much fun. You mentioned being presidents. Like, why do you do that? Like, you can't, I've not ever been, involved in the leadership of it. I just go. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just a taker. Mm-hmm. I'm just a taker of the things. I don't give back to it. Mm-hmm. What inspired y'all or made you feel like you needed to or wanted to play those leadership roles?
Well, when I joined Jack Peoples, he was a member since the late 50s or 60s. And when he hired me to come on board to run his little plant in Dallas, and he got me involved in SMA, and he said, I want you to go and get involved in this, serve on some of the committees. It's going to be life-changing down the road, more than likely. And you're going to meet some people sitting in on committees to plan a convention or plan a this or that. And he said, you're going to connect yourself today with people you'll be doing business with the rest of your life. And it even puts cold chill bumps on me, because it's a very true statement that I can call and people that I knew 40 years ago and say, hey, what's going on? And they go, but it's just like a fraternity that doesn't go away, and your roommates are brothers, and you share stuff. But SMA has that feeling, because it too, the Bellingers of the world and myself will know there was a period of time when the association was just starting to kind of do a downward trend, and we were going to merge with another group, Rosemary, whatever. But we all had several meetings off-site to say, what do we need to do to take this plane and get it going back? And several of us got together and said, let's rearrange what we do at some of the conventions, make it more kid-friendly. Let's add a dove hunt as an 8-person dove hunt at your ranch to do an auction item. And so we started auctioning off stuff, and you'd start making 20,000 one year, 40 the next, and 60 the next. And it just added some excitement so people got, rather than just being a meat conference for that all, it became a showcase, a supplier showcase became, so they took it and ran with it. And it's,
well, and I mean, so big high five to you and John and
that's just two of them. Right. Yeah, there's a bunch more than that.
But this was the biggest one ever this year in 2025 that was record breaking, attendance and all kinds of things. So I'm glad you guys because sometimes it is a little easier to just say, oh, well, let's merge with that bunch.
Yeah.
And,
and that was the trend. Yeah. I'm looking at this gate coming into this ranch right here, and Nick will know because he helped serve tons of food out there. But we started putting a dove hunt to come out to the ranch, and it went from 10 to 80 or 90 people. Went out. I mean, I had more trucks parked around there, but everybody had fun. We built it as it was a cocktail party with doves invited. Yeah. So everybody come out, and they stayed in lake cabins all over this part out here by Possum Kingdom Lake, but we met every afternoon or every morning, went hunting. Every night for 2 nights we had a big shindig at around by pavilion I had, and it was just more fun, and it scattered to everybody. And then they started bringing their kids, and they started bringing their line foreman or their packaging personnel, and it got to be a big deal. It was fun, and I miss that, but it's just a piece of the puzzle or the chapter that's behind you now.
So going back to the leadership thing, my mother and father always instilled in me, if you don't like where things are going, then become the leader. So it wasn't that I didn't like what was going on,
Right.
but I wanted to be contributing to the decisions that were being made to guide that organization to where it is today. And there were some rough times.
Yeah.
There were some rough times.
I mean, it is kind of true that any accomplishment comes along with rough times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arguments, debates. I bet you two guys have had some pretty heated debates and arguments over the years.
Oh no, we get along like two self-appointed stepbrothers. Yeah. I'm still cussing him for me pulling into this parking lot to look at this vacant building. But no, our vision was where it should be. It just hit us a little bit, but we're there. We're there now. We're getting there. We just had to change course. Greg's been a big player in that because he's bringing the rancher aspect in, and
we're symbiotic. We're not the same alpha males. He brings talent to the table that's different than mine.
Yeah.
good way to put
try to
it.
complement each other on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a great perspective, because if you get kind of drawn into the politics of the day and age we're kind of in, it's like you hear lots of I will, which that there's kind of some good in confidence. There's also probably truth that I just never does much.
How about
No.
we will?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
can.
will.
Yeah.
Well, I think Doc and I had this. Yeah, we've disagreed couple times I can remember, but anyway, but we also had the same interest in mind, and we knew that we'd go down the road together. But I didn't want to get in his lane because he knew what he was doing, and vice versa. I said, if you can keep it clean, I'll sell it.
Yeah.
So if that's the way it was, if you
where I find those two roles kind of in conflict is when sales kind of need to keep going, but safety can't allow that. And you're worried about, are we going to lose this customer because we can't run this product this way? And it's not like it's going to kill anybody, but it's not just perfect.
it's marginal or whatever. Let's get by this time.
Yeah, that's right.
And I won't do it again. Well, no, that's not the way it works. He would keep. That's where we parallel, because he didn't compromise, and that's what we needed. And that tone hit from the second day he joined me in 1999, and the customers pick up on that.
Yeah.
Because they had other bigger customers going, well, we can't do that, or we're gonna. It is the fat percent's off, but y'all just use it and we'll do better next time. No. No, we had guidelines that we checked all that, and that was his deal, and it was it worked. But
Yeah. Anyways, I love it. I mean, that kind of stuff is just fun for me to realize, like, it is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I was thinking about this earlier. I meant to write it down, but it came back to me. Thank goodness the podcasting gods are watching over me. Have you had any like crazy requests in here? Like, has somebody came in and wanted, I don't even know, calf fries or
We get that one all the time.
yeah.
For me, probably the craziest one is ground kangaroo.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But that's what they feed their dogs.
Oh,
So
That's right.
and we can supply that for them.
you can?
Oh yeah.
Where's the kangaroo ranch around?
Well, we what we do is we order it. We get it
They
in.
buy the whole case.
Yeah, we get it Monday at noon. They pick it up at 12:03. Not out of the box, out of here. No.
I had a funny one. Somebody wanted a half suckling pig head. I mean, which I just never heard one like
Is
that
that
before.
brain in or out?
Well, out.
Wow.
I said, I'm pretty sure we couldn't sell you the brain if you did want it.
No.
But,
Interesting.
it just made me think, man, I wonder what kind of crazy thing, because Greg would be the guy that hears about the most crazy stuff.
Well, we get your typical elk racks and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Neil Guy, round, and all that's out there but we specialize in prime and upper 2/3 choice beef, but we will, if a customer wants a blue suit, we'll get a blue light. So we'll find them whatever they need if we can.
Yeah.
And if we can't, we're honest and say it's not made in this part of the country. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But,
Man, thanks so much for the time. It goes by fast. We've already been talking for over an hour.
Wow.
So I think anybody listening this long is probably ready to hear me say, thank you so much, gentlemen. Really appreciate your time. I know you got other stuff to do. You've took a big part of your day and lent it to this podcast, to me. I mean, I'm appreciative just on a personal level. Is there anything, any shout out, anything you'd like to just say that I might not have asked you? And it doesn't have to be something.
God bless America.
Yeah, I think that's a great statement.
we're very passionate about what we're doing here because we're on the right track and it's working, and people are enjoying what we're doing with the beef that we're supplying out there. And I like that. It's just getting out of school, starting at a packing house, and now ending my career here is about as good as you can get with all what I've had in the middle. So I'm very appreciative and very pleased to be with these guys and on this journey. So that's my little contribution to the end here.
So one plug for the SMA. What would y'all say if I said, what do you think somebody ought to do? Should they join the SMA or not?
Well, if they're smart and want to stay in business, they can learn a lot
Yeah.
by joining the SMA and making that network available. And so,
And it probably
Think I
won't
didn't
happen first try. Like
No.
join, come to a convention.
you won't know anybody, but
Yeah,
you can
but
kind of.
I'll tell you this, folks. I've been there. I did that. I just came and didn't know anybody. And next thing you know, there's this smiling face from Nick Nickelson. Hi, how are you? I'm Nick. I mean, I didn't know who he was, but he was friendly. He welcomed me. That's what will happen. At the SMA, there will be somebody who sees your new face and says, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Glad you're here. And that just, it fades away. All that kind of fear or nervousness around not knowing somebody fades pretty quickly.
Well, to Nick's point, it's a hell of an organization to be a part of. Joe Harris and his crew and his predecessors have kept this thing amazingly going in a first-class way. Just all you got to do is look at some of the things they do, the showcases, supplier showcases, the guest lectures they have. But what you take...
Mid-year conference.
Yeah.
Keep everybody up to date.
And it's designed to help the meat people, whether you're live animal or butcher shop, whatever, or a sausage maker. It's what it's all about. But you can always walk out of there with a catalog going, I need to call so-and-so. I know they have a little plant down in South Texas, and I want to either get some of their product. I want to ask them how they make it the way they're making it, and you will get an answer. There's not any closed book, and that's what SMA brings to the table, is everybody feels comfortable at these conventions. It's very informative, and you can get what you need. You can ask a question and get an answer.
Yeah, they'll get your hiney out of a crack when it comes to, some kind of a compliance issue with the USDA or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we've used them many times. Like, hey, we're in trouble. What do we do? And they're like, well, we happen to know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This is an episode of Meet People. Greg, Dr. Nick, Don. Thank y'all so much. And y'all come check out the meat board. Have a little meeting in this conference room. It's nice and cool and comfortable, and they got good unsweet tea or sweet tea.
There you go.
Y'all have a good one.